Hey YouTubers, day one on Dodge project. So this turned up a couple of days ago and we're going to get her back on the road. She's a hell of a state at the moment. So lots and lots of welding, but today's first job, it looks like this side of the vehicle has basically been parked in a ditch because the wheels are absolutely full of crud and rust. So the job at the moment is I was just cleaning the rust out. I'm going to put about 20 psi of air in each tyre, not a lot at all. It just means that the wheels aren't square and she'll roll about. And then the next job is a will it start video. There's a lot of welding to do. So the cab's shot, but thankfully I've got a spare cab in there. I can make a good one out too. This back wall is knackered. Got to make a new one of those. Going to have to make a new one of these pieces, but fundamentally all the curvy bits, apart from a slight ding in this bumper, all the curvy bits are in pretty good shape. And at some point it's been painted up to represent an 8th Army vehicle from out in the Desert War, and I will probably return her to that colour. You know, she's even got the Jerboa, the little Desert Rat badge underneath her wing. I know she's not an original Desert Rat because she's a 44 truck and it was kind of all over out there by then. The 8th were in Italy and then called to Normandy in 44. So, you know, we'll see how we get on. It's certainly worth saving this one. They are so rare, so absolute rare, especially with a genuine military history. You know, you see quite a lot of civilian versions of these on the preservation scene. But yeah, not for the faint-hearted, this one. But, you know, we'll be all right. It's only metal. Cheers, guys. Bye. So, hey, guys. I've been playing with the Dodge for a little bit. I've actually got her sat on 4 wheels that will hold air now. That was a mission. Trying to get the double wheels off the back hubs. Took a little while and a bit of heat. But she's actually sat on inflated tyres now. And we're playing the will it start game. So before I even attempt to start this engine up, which God knows how long it is since it's been started, apparently it runs, but the bit of hose that was on the fuel can is completely perished. So how long ago it was started, I have no idea. I'm doing the same thing. I've just got a rubber hose that I'm going to drop into a little can of petrol. Everything's free. I've freed up the handbrake. It's in neutral. And before I even attempt to do anything electrical, I'm just going to go through the main electrical system, make sure that the earth's good, otherwise power's not going to flow. And then down there is the starter motor, so I'm going to have the cable off the back of the starter motor, clean that up, just give ourselves a fighting chance. Already clean up the contacts on the Dizzy. Anywhere where there's a contact, I'll give it a clean before I even attempt it, and then we'll bang a battery on it and do a will it start video. Okay folks, so here's a little teaser of the upcoming project. It's a Canadian Dodge D60, and this is a genuine will it start video. So what I've done is I've put a little fuel tank on it. That runs through the lift pump. I've wedged the auto throttle open because the cable for it is broken, so it's wedged open with a screwdriver. I've given it half choke. The spark plugs are in a bit of a state, but I've put a spark plug tester over them and I think they're working okay. I can't start it from in the cab because the bulkhead's dropped down, so the linkage doesn't work at the moment. So I'm going to find my little tripod and pop you on the tripod, and then I'm going to have a little climb on the wing and see whether she turns over and starts for the first time in God knows how many years. Let's give it a go, shall we? Hopefully all my ducks are in a row and the spark plugs work, but we'll give it a go. It's going to take a little while to crank over and get the fuel through, but here it goes. Right. Let's double check the ignition's on. Contact, as they say. Right, let's give it a go, see what happens. I can smell old fuel. Okay. Right, I'm going to run through a couple of checks just to see that we're getting fuel in that, and I will turn you back on again in a minute and we'll have another go. Okay guys, so we're on attempt 2. So all I've done is I've taken the glass sediment bowl off the bottom of the lift pump, cleaned it all out, cleaned the little gauze filter. We've just got to pump a bit of fuel into it, and then hopefully, well, we'll see whether she goes or not. Attempt 2 after however many years. Okay, close that off. I've got a lot of fuel leaking out of the carb, so it looks like I'm going to have to do something with that. Ooh. Okay, so do I have the sticky float chamber? Did you hear that? There is life in the old girl. How much fuel is pissing out of that thing? Lots. So I think I've got a sticky float chamber. Let's see whether that tarts that up a bit. Lot of fuel everywhere. It looks like we're going to have this carb off and have a little look at it. But that was definitely progress. One more go. We'll pop the little screwdriver in to do the auto throttle again. We'll give it one more little shot. See what happens. Get on. Right, let's have that carb a bit. See if we can make her run a bit sweeter. Well, there you go. That's a little taster of what's to come. A genuine will it start. So on attempt number 2, this truck has been, it was restored in the 80s, you can tell, because in the 80s they used loads of body filler. And there's quite a bit of that on there. But how long since she started, I have no idea. And off she went. Change of plugs, service that carb, and I think she'll be running sweet. Nice one, guys. Watch the channel if you like the channel. Subscribe to it. Amazing.
Will it start?
Yes, it will. So hey guys, this is the next video in this series on the Dodge. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm stripping the flatbed off, get us down to chassis rails again, and then I can get in there, I can sort these springs out, get into the brakes, get all the chassis rails painted up to the back of the cab with some red oxide, and it puts me in a pretty good place because it's should be a pretty rapid turnaround on doing the back end. Once it's done, and then I'm going to take all the front curvy bits off and just be left with the cab pod, which might come off, might not, might do it in situ, I'm not sure yet, and then restore the cab. Engine's already running. I need a couple of bits and pieces, but yeah, progress is progress. We now have a time deadline on this one, so I need to get a wiggle on. Okay guys, so today's little mission is to try and get this set of springs off so that I can split them, clean all the delamination out, hopefully make them happy again. Problem is, this vehicle's like 80 years old, so these U-bolts have been in there for 80 years. I'm gonna have to use some heat. Unfortunately, I don't have oxypropane, I've just got propane, so I don't know whether it's going to be strong enough. I just don't use it enough to warrant the rental on the bottle, to be fair. But what I'm going to have to do is heat these nuts up. I've already sheared one off, so I'm not optimistic. I might have to cut the U-bolts off and then go and see a blacksmith friend of mine and get a whole load of U-bolts made, but that's no great shakes. What I do, there's no avoiding sorting these springs out. I mean, look at it. Hopefully, once I clean them all up, we'll see what they look like. This top one has definitely bent out because of the delamination. So it might, if I'm lucky and I can get away with it, it might just be the top one that I have to re-straighten. But there we go, that's today's little mission. Wish me luck. Ta-da, bye. Right then, so end of the day, I did have to go off and get some oxygen. Thankfully, I didn't have to go to BOC. I found a place where you pay a deposit once, not every bloody year. So I've got the spring off. I can see that my spring bolt has basically sheared off in there. So I'm gonna have to get that end out and make another bolt for it. But inside the workshop, now that I've given it a good hammering, all that delamination's come off. So I've actually got the whole spring set out on the table in order. I'm going to clean it all up, sort of with a wire brush basically, give each leaf a nice coat of paint, of red oxide paint, and then reassemble. So I've got one broken leaf, which is a bit of a nightmare, but thankfully, out here, courtesy of my friend Roscoe, I've got a Nissan Patrol back spring, and because these are just the helper springs, they're pretty much the same width. There's maybe a couple of mil in it, but because it's the top spring, I can just use one of these leaves to refabricate the top spring, put them all together. So hopefully by the end of play this weekend, this spring will be all painted, reassembled and ready to assemble, and that's the first bit of restoration. And then obviously straight onto the other side. I did manage to break a U-bolt that holds them all together because they are substantially large springs. So I'm going to have to get a friend of mine who's a blacksmith to make me a new U-bolt. But other than that, hardly any casualties. One leaf and one U-bolt in 80 years. That's not too bad. Yeah, there was no choice. I had to get oxygen so I could use oxypropane. I just couldn't get it hot enough just with propane. Anyway, good progress. Nice one, guys. Bye. So it's Saturday morning, bright and breezy. You can hear Tigger the cockerel crowing in the background. And I had a really good day yesterday. I managed to get the whole spring, 2 coats of paint on it, rust killing paint, reassembled the top leaf. It wasn't a Nissan Patrol, it was a Nissan Navara pickup back springs. And it's bloody perfect. It worked really well. You wouldn't even know it was in there. So I'm going to have a go at fitting this one today. So that means I need to heat up the shackle pins to get all the old grease out of them. And then I'm going to mount that onto the lorry. And what I'll do is, as I undo the U-bolts on the other side, I'm going to pinch the long U-bolt from the other side so I can fully complete installing this one. And then a repeat of the same job. I'm going to pull the springs off, get all the delaminations out, give them 2 coats of rust killing paint. I mean, they will have a top coat of probably desert paint. Haven't really decided yet. There's still some grey areas as to the vehicle's ID, so I need to do a bit more research on that, get in touch with Deep Cut and find out whether they have a military history, whether they have that vehicle on record in their archives. So we'll have a look, but doing really, really, really well. As I said, Saturday morning, you never know, by the end of this weekend I could have both of them done, which would be outstanding. So fitted a new spring, but I'm going to do a quick compare and contrast. This, as I showed you beforehand, was the state of the old spring. You can see where all the metal's delaminated between the layers and pushed the springs all out of shape. I mean, it's even popped the spring clamps, certainly on that front end. And this is what a fully renovated one looks like. She's all totally clean, all painted, bolted on. I had to pinch the U-bolt from the other side to finish this side, but this side the springs are done. It is an undercoat, it will disappear. As you can see, that Nissan leaf spring has done the job perfectly. So she's all greased up. I've heated all the shackle pins up so that the grease, I can push grease through really easily. All bolted on. I do need, so it would have had some axle dampers. I don't know whether you can see these two holes that would have attached down to that bracket. So what I'm going to do is make my own brackets and put some modern lorry shocks on it, is my plan, because the chances of finding those dampers are probably nil, and if I do find them, they'll be really, really super expensive. So what I will do is probably repurpose a modern lorry shock absorbers and put them on there, because what I'm interested in is the vehicle being safe, and once it's safe, I can go to auto jumbles and steam rallies and slowly change over the parts that I've had to modify from other vehicles. But the main one is to recommission it and get it to work. Engine runs, like I say, and that was really good stage one of progress. I wasn't expecting to be as far as I am. I'm going to whip the other spring off and then do the same treatment to the other spring. Hopefully the leaves won't be too broken. We'll see when we take it all to bits. Okay, so I thought I'd keep you up to progress. We fully refurbed both sets of springs now. I did snap one of these U-bolts, so I've had to go to an agricultural engineer. They're going to hopefully sort me out one in the next few days, but they just look so much better, so much better, so much tidier, and they're all in pretty good shape. I had to put one of those Nissan Navara springs as the top spring on that one as well. Works perfectly. So yeah, what was the other job I've done? So I put heat into all the universal joints all the way along the prop shaft up to the gearbox to make the grease liquid again, so I can push fresh grease into them. So I've greased them all up. So I'm going to start later on this week. I'm going to have the wheels off and start looking at these brakes. They are asbestos brake shoes on this, I believe, so I'm going to have to be careful, get the hoover on the job, wear a face mask, all that sort of business. Hopefully get the cylinders off, and hopefully they'll be free, and it'll just be a case of honing them out and putting a seal kit in them. And then apart from one brake pipe that runs up this chassis rail, that's the whole back end pretty much done. Obviously I haven't done any electrics, so after that I'll be on to the fuel tank, take that off, get that cleaned, and then unbolting bits off the cab. So I'm going to start with the foot plates and then get the wings off. The bonnet comes off in two pieces anyway, it's only there to protect it from weather, and then I'm going to expose this cab and see how bad it is. I mean, it looks awful, in fact it is awful, but I think we'll get there. The door frame on the other side seems to be intact, so it means I've got all the measurements to be able to make this side's door frame. We'll get there. There'll be lots and lots and lots of intricate little 6mm welding wire welding. So slow and steady wins the race, really. There's a lot of curves to make, and I don't have an English wheel or anything like that. It's all done by hand, and yeah, we'll see how we get on. One thing I'm going to ditch though is this vent here lets in loads of water to the cab, so I'm basically going to blank it off so it doesn't happen again. If it gets hot in the cab, I'll open the windows or the windscreen alternatively, but fine for the desert in the UK, no, I think I'll blank that off actually, just to prevent it from getting bad in the future. It's all about future-proofing it so that it lasts another 80 years. But anyway, yeah, made some nice progress. Definitely very happy with those springs. I do have to have a little look at the front springs. I thought I'd get away with it, but I noticed a sheared bolt on them yesterday when I was looking for chassis numbers and engine numbers to confirm the age of the vehicle, which I found. They're actually under there. You can't really see them, but I managed to scrape enough paint off to get the numbers. So good old bit of progress. I will keep you posted. So there you go, guys. I've put a new set of plugs in it, and I've made a load of gaskets. All the gaskets that were broken in the carburetor I've made. She's ticking over lovely. It's a bit of a fuel leak, but the major fuel leak's solved. But listen to this. She's just running really smoothly. She runs smoother than the Jimmy does. Oil pressure's all good. You know, nice and high. Very pleased with that. Very pleased with that. Happy days. Nice one, guys. Ta-da.